What's really going on in the Middle East, specifically Syria? And what is it through the eyes of someone who is Jewish? Today, Rabbi David Kaufman and Will Rogers. It's Max World Live on KTIA.
Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
4 minutes after the hour on this 27th day of August in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the Tuesday edition of The View from a Pew here on 99.3 KTIA. Special show today. Tom Coates was supposed to be here, but he got delayed. He's probably counting his gold in his safe. And so I have two wonderful guests today. Pastor David Kaufman. Rabbi. I hope that's not an insult. I didn't mean. Rabbi David Kaufman and Will Rogers. And you are, your political affiliation doesn't really mean anything here. I mean, you're the co-chair of the Polk County Republicans.
I'm the chair of the Polk County
Republicans. I'm sorry. You're the chair.
We used to have a co-chair at the Polk County Republicans.
And he quit.
Yes.
You don't have to comment on that, but I heard that was a big whiner. That it wasn't anything.
We're just going to move on to Syria.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just telling you what I heard from some inside people, that you have your broad shoulders are showing, and you are certainly being the bigger man in this. So I'll leave it at that. All right. Let's get right to it. And we probably couldn't have planned this show any better given what's going on today in Syria between the United States and Russia and Iran. And, I've read Revelation. This is beginning to look a lot like Revelations. Rabbi, start with you. I mean, what's going on over there? I mean, and you got to talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. You're really smart with this stuff, so talk slow.
Well, what's going on there is that you've had a dictatorship for a couple generations now. In Syria, that's the Assad family. They are Shiites, Alawite, part of the Alawite sect. You have a Sunni versus Shia conflict there, which is a conflict that's going on all over the Middle East and has been going on for many generations now.
Between Shiites and who?
And Sunnis.
Sunnis, okay.
So those are two major divisions of Muslims in the world. The Shias are primarily Iranian, but there's some in Iraq, and then there's some in Syria and some in Lebanon. And the Sunni is basically everybody else.
Okay.
And you had the Arab Spring, which, was this kind of theoretically a democratic movement that started last year and turned into what we would say is an Islamist movement, with the Muslim Brotherhood taking the lead role. So what you've got right now in Syria is essentially an attempt to overthrow Assad by...
And that's, you said he's a dictator.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a dictator. He's a friend of Iran. He's a friend of Russia. We had pro-American dictators, and we've got not pro-American dictators. He's a not pro-American dictator.
All right, now, who's the guy that they just let out of prison, but they sent him back to hospital?
You're talking about in Egypt.
Mubarak in Egypt.
Oh, that's in Egypt.
Yes.
All right. We're not talking about Egypt yet.
And Mubarak is one of the friendly to American dictators as opposed to Assad. Now, meanwhile, Syria is in a situation where Assad has one of the largest stockpiles of biological and chemical weaponry in the world. He's got one of the largest militaries in the world.
That he got from Saddam Hussein.
He's been producing his own biological and chemical weapons since the 1970s. So at least their regime has. And whether he got stuff from Saddam or not, he had his own. He's been getting a lot of weapons from Iran and Russia. So Iran and Russia are major suppliers. There's some question whether Russia ever went through with its sale of the S-300 anti-aircraft weapon system because they had promised that to Syria. It's a very advanced weapon system that's capable of knocking down virtually any advanced fighter we have.
S-300, you said?
It's the S-300.
And that's a land-based, shoots into the air at planes.
Yeah, okay. Syria has one of the best air defense systems in the world. When Israel has conducted strikes against Syrian territory, they have not entered Syrian airspace to do it. They have launched rockets in from the outside. The way that the United States is positioning its forces for whatever it's planning on doing, it looks like it's planning on launching cruise missiles rather than even using airplanes, and it could be because of that they don't want to come in contact with Syria's air defenses.
Okay, hold on. Stop. I'm confused. If you launch a cruise missile, you're launching it probably from a battleship in the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
Right?
Where there's a bunch of battleships sitting at right now are moving that direction.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means that goes into the air. Why isn't the S-300 effective against rockets in the air?
Well, some of it may be, but it's different than taking down a $1 billion stealth
airplane
bomber or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if we lose Tomahawk cruise missiles to anti-aircraft weapons that are costing as much or more than the cruise missiles we're using, that's not a very effective. We'd be happy to do that. We could do that all day long and deplete their anti-aircraft resources.
All right. You got same page for you? Everything
Rabbi's
he said?
laying it out just perfectly.
Okay.
I mean, we're moving along in the right direction.
We haven't gotten to the moral and ethical issues yet.
Okay.
We're still dealing with the technical issues.
I just want to make sure. All right, so continue.
So the real issue that's going on here is that Assad's forces, the Syrian regime, used sarin gas and quite possibly other chemical weapons against the rebel forces in Syria. Now, one of the problems we have is that the rebel forces are not our friends either. We're looking at a conflict here that is an Iranian-backed regime from Assad, and on the other side are the Muslim Brotherhood and a whole bunch of other radical Islamist regimes that hate us. There are a number of a percentage of the Syrian people that's stuck in the middle, including
the camera on Rabbi, please.
Including the Free Syrian Army. The Free Syrian Army is a group that we probably should have supported. In fact, we definitely should have supported about a year ago when they actually had a chance to do something. It's going to take a lot more now to get to resolve the situation as far as putting a regime in power that we would like if we wanted to get there. What we're talking about doing now is not regime change. There's no chance of regime change based on the forces that we have arrayed to go. We're talking about a punitive strike with cruise missiles in the hope of deterring Assad from using weapons of mass destruction, genocidal weapons against his own people. And when we see pictures of men, women, and children being gassed in their sleep by cyanide gas, which is what sarin is, it's just something that we have to react to. We can't have somebody slaughtering children in their sleep and not react.
All right, anything to add?
The rabbis, just to add there, and you did get around to it, but the only friends we have in this aren't really necessarily our friends. It's just the innocent people that are in Syria that their leaders are willing to, again, kill and maim just in political motivation to hang on to their regime.
I want to be the devil's advocate for just a second. I'm not sure that this is how my heart feels, but I want this voice heard, and that is the voice that says, what do we care? Why do we care if this dictator is killing his own people when they're in the middle of a revolutionary war? My God, we don't even care about the children that are unborn in this country. We can barely care about the war on poverty. I mean, why? Why do we care what he does over there? Just because it's our job to care?
Yes. It is
Okay.
our job to care about innocent people in the world.
Okay.
You shall not stand in thy neighbor's blood, Mac. That's one of the passages that I still can recite from Leviticus. And when you see people innocently being murdered around the world, whether it's in a country that we don't like or a regime or a type of people that we don't particularly share the same amount of values with, our values still lead us in the right direction. And that's to go over there and save those people, or at least stop their leadership from killing them.
Okay.
Well, people can hide from conventional weapons. I mean, there's a lot of conflict. It's difficult. You can certainly kill large numbers of people with conventional weapons, but so people have asked, what's the difference between Assad killing his people with conventional weapons and killing them with gas? And I think one of the issues, just from a Jewish perspective, is that when Jews hear these three words put together, government gassing children,
right.
We have a reaction that is, well, the U.S. and the rest of the world didn't react last time government was gassing at children.
Meaning the Holocaust.
Meaning the Holocaust.
Okay.
And so for us, that's crossing lines that we can't allow to go on.
All right. If I understand, and you guys jump in anytime, okay? I'm just listening here. If I understand it correctly, Iran announced yesterday or today that if there is a United States backed attack on Syria, that Israel will pay the price. That will be the first place that their weapons go.
You want to start with that one?
Well, this is the standard by which other countries in the Middle East operate. They threaten Israel whenever the West intervenes because we're
Convenient.
It's convenient. We're very much aligned in the same worldview in terms of our political philosophy and political ideology.
Even with Obama?
Even with Obama, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Our country and the United States and Israel are egalitarian countries. We share the same values towards people in the world. And here's what I will just say. You can go back to the Persian Gulf War. Israel attacks Iraq. What does Iraq do? Launches Scud missiles at Israel. It's a matter of convenience. They're right there. Their weaponry and capability that they have to attack is capable of reaching into Israel. But it's also, again, when you attack Israel, none of its neighbors typically are going to come to its defense as well. That's, its surrounding neighbors aren't exactly ready to step up and take on other Arab nations or Islamic nations or regimes in order to defend Israel.
And pardon me that my geography isn't excellent, but doesn't Syria and Israel touch?
Yes.
And Jordan?
Yes.
And Iraq?
No.
No. Iran?
No.
No. What's
No,
the country?
Iraq is on the east of Jordan. So Ambassador Michael Oren will tell you that Israel's security border is not the Israeli-Jordanian border, which is its eastern border, but the Jordanian-Iraqi border and the Jordanian-Syrian border. In other words, Israel has a good relationship with Jordan, and it wants to see a strong Jordan be able to defend itself against the countries that are around it that are hostile, where there could be problems. So look, the issue of Iran, Syria, or Hezbollah responding to a U.S. attack against Israel, if they're going to do a limited cruise missile attack, Iran, Syria, and Hezbollah would all be totally insane to try to drag Israel into the conflict. If they would launch anything at all, it would be very minimal. Because the last thing they want to do is have Israel engage on the side against the Syrian regime, because that would change the whole dynamic and potentially could result in the collapse of the Syrian regime.
All right.
There's no way they want to do that.
Let's take a break, and we'll come back. Phone lines are open. Locally, 244-0077. I'd love to have your voice. I'd love to have you ask the questions. I got a bunch of them rolling through my head. I'm trying to take this as slow as I can. I've got some very smart people in the studio today, so help me out here if you've got some questions. We're coming back live on The View from a Pew on KTIA Iowa, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I am administrative manager
I am the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Okay, 21 minutes after the hour, 27th day of August. The year is 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and I've got Rabbi David Kaufman in the studio today, along with Will Rogers, as as am I an Anglican? Is that what you call me? If I'm not Jewish, I'm a Gentile.
Gentile.
Well, am I? What am I?
Anglican is a person of the English church.
What am I? Am I a Gentile?
Gentile, non-Jew. You're not Jewish. You are a Christian, Mac.
I'm a Christian. Well, yes, I know that, but I didn't.
We like using positive terms rather than negative terms.
So as a Christian, I feel most embarrassed that I don't know as much about this as I should, because I've always told you this specifically. I've got a little Jewish in me somewhere. I mean, I just know I do, because I've always been very akin to that way of worshiping and the Old Testament. And anyway, I don't mean that as an insult. Maybe that's an insult.
I thought you were going to talk about liking to talk and having opinions.
No, I wasn't it. I was talking more of my spiritual side. But all right, so today Iran says if you mess with Syria, America, we're going to attack Israel. You guys both agree Do you both agree that that's unlikely, that that's just saber rattling?
Well, I mean, we'll answer for himself, but my thought at this point is that the Syrian regime, the last thing they want is Israel to get engaged militarily in the conflict, because there's no way that the Syrian regime would be able to hold up at that point. At that point, Israel could really allow the rebels to win, because it simply has the ability to take out a lot of the
Do they want the rebels to win?
They at this point would be happier with Assad gone and anybody else in power than they are with Assad.
Even
in
the
power.
Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah, and that's from what I understand, and because the Muslim Brotherhood would be very weak, and eventually would collapse just like they did in Egypt. So the assumption is that that's the case, but they would not want the Muslim Brotherhood in control of all those chemical weapons either. So if the regime were to fall, the chemical weapons would be a major problem, and Israel or the United States and NATO would have to go in and get the chemical weapons before they fell into the wrong hands. So that becomes a much more complicated situation than what we're facing now.
Do we know where they are?
Yeah. They have enough intelligence on this stuff that the other thing is that because of fear of strikes over the last multiple years, the Assad government has made sure to let everybody know that they're keeping tabs on those weapons, because the last thing they want is American special forces descending on their facilities, taking over the weapons, which is what the United States is poised to do. So is Israel.
Do we know for a fact that it was Assad?
Yeah, the Israeli intelligence services recorded conversations between Syrian governmental officials about the use of the weapons before and after the fact.
Okay.
So the United States is convinced. They said as much last night. Secretary of State Kerry said, and Ambassador Power both said that they know that the regime was involved in using the sarin gas. So the situation here is, what is our response? And you can make the argument that firing cruise missiles isn't going to do anything. It's certainly not going to affect the regime, but it's possible that you deter the regime from using that kind of weaponry going forward, and you just let the sides duke it out for as long as you can without doing anything else. I think if the United States does more than launch cruise missiles, if we're talking about sending in forces, if we're talking about enforcing a no-fly zone or anything like that, you're escalating the situation to the point where there may well be retaliation against Israel, against American places around the world. And then the question of whether or not launching cruise missiles is simply a symbolic gesture. But if it actually stops the regime from using chemical weapons against, civilians, then it'd be effective.
Well, I'm Assad, and I know the political consequences that the world is going to make me hold accountable if I use these weapons, these deadly weapons, the gases. Okay? I mean, I'm Assad. I got to know that, right? I've got to know that I'm going to get some pushback from America and some other people. Mm-hmm. Why use them? And that's not a rhetorical question. The grief to profit ratio. Obviously, the grief is, oh, crap, here comes America with cruise missiles. What's the profit in killing a few hundred people with gas?
I think David's squirming there. I think he wants to answer that.
There's some guesses. I mean, one of the guesses is that the Assad regime really does feel like it's in danger, and that the rebels were making and the Free Syrian Army were making gains in what they were doing, and so the regime may well have used those weapons to try to deter the rebels from advancing in certain areas, to scare them into submission, or to actually accomplish strategic goals quickly. I mean, if you can wipe out everybody living in a certain area, it's very easy to move your troops in without having to worry about people hidden in spaces and sniping you with sniper rifles or anything else. You just go in and take over.
And what we protest to is that there are quote unquote women and children
I mean,
because it sounds like a heck of an idea for warfare. You know, you don't put your guys' boots on the ground, you throw some canisters in, everybody drops dead, and we take it over.
Any non-combatant, first of all, should not have to face any non-combatant should not have to face any engagement by any military.
But terrorists don't feel that way.
That's why they're wrong. Okay?
But okay.
That's why they're wrong.
Okay.
And any use of chemical weapons, biological weapons, any weapons of mass destruction that aren't specifically targeted at combatants, that is also wrong.
Look, I mean, we're in a position right now as a superpower to preach that we're holier than thou in war. Now, there are times when we're not, when we do things where we kill civilians accidentally, but we try not to kill them deliberately. In cases where we're killing civilians deliberately, there's a problem, and anybody is. I mean, we just sentenced a soldier for killing 16 Afghan civilians. We don't believe that our forces should do that, even when we're engaged militarily. Now, frankly, that guy was killing civilians who were not even engaged against, which is a different issue. Just went crazy, probably. But when you're dealing with somebody who has the ability to wipe out tens of thousands of people very quickly, I mean, if Assad knew that we weren't coming at all and we weren't going to do anything at all and we weren't positioned to do anything at all, he has enough weapons to just wipe the opposition out of existence. He could commit genocide in days, hundreds of thousands of people, if he wanted to. So we have to show that that's not okay. Otherwise, we have no moral and ethical standing anywhere.
I guess I just don't understand the art of war very well.
The modern art of war is not the same as it used to be.
This has been and I don't want to go far down the rabbit's hole on this, but there's been a long discussion about what are the ethics of warfare. Thomas Aquinas was one of the people that wrote about this a lengthy subject matter on this. There's been a number of people since there. Michael Walzer wrote about this subject here within the last 20, 30 years. And again, this continues to be a conversation that we have in America because as we continue to pursue new technologies for everything, one of the things that comes about is new technologies for warfare.
Mm-hmm.
And but gas has been something that's been used since World War I. Quite heavily in Europe and other places around the world. It's been used as well. But you see this regime and other places in the Middle East have certainly stockpiled this in the past as well.
Will Rogers, along with Rabbi David Kaufman, are my guests today as we discuss what's going on over in Syria. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, morally, we're in a situation in which we have to try to do something to save civilians. The long-term goal for the United States has got to be to have regimes who don't agree with us to come around and agree with us at some point, and have the people who are our enemies currently at some point realize that we're the good guys and want to be allied with us. And that takes standing up for them when they're being killed.
All right. Now, you've got Russia, who is a major ally of Iran. Are they also an ally of Syria?
They're actually more of an ally of Syria.
Okay. I'm assuming that they're not going to say, we're on your side, America, if you do this.
Syria is Russia's last naval base in the Mediterranean Sea.
Okay.
So they're very defensive of anything. They probably, I don't know if they did set a red line, but I wouldn't be surprised if they told the United States there was a red line, that they would get engaged if the United States did X, Y, or Z. I don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. Because they really can't afford to have the Syrian ports closed to Russian ships.
But what red line meaning what? But Israel gets pounced on, right? I mean, they don't come over and blow up Boston. They don't come into Iowa and drop a canister of sarin gas. It's Israel that gets the bad part.
You forget, Mac, there are other countries in the world. I mean, there are other places where we have governments that are not friendly to the United States that Russia could support. You have all kinds of ways for governments to cause problems to one another. And if we're in a strategic situation, they're looking much more broadly than that little area right there on the Eastern Mediterranean. They're looking at what's our global influence.
Well, like what? Give me an example, please.
Well, Southeast Asia.
Okay. Vietnam.
Yeah, you've got Latin America.
Okay.
You've got all kinds of stuff.
Everywhere we've already been fighting hot wars during the Cold War to begin with.
Okay.
I mean, Cuba.
We've got listen, since
Cuba, Cuba,
Nicaragua,
right?
Since the 90s,
Venezuela.
A lot of these areas have continued to, where we had hot wars back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. They've continued to stabilize. We've gone into those areas. We've opened up commerce. We've got Americans living in these countries. We have joint interest and joint ventures and investment by U.S. companies and individuals in these areas. And we have great relationships with these countries. Some of those relationships can start to turn if Russia starts using a heavy hand. One of the things that a lot of people don't remember is that when oil in 2008 hit $147 a barrel, what did Russia do? It invaded the country of Georgia. And not one country really came in to aid the defense of Georgia, partly due to because we didn't want to have $200 a barrel oil.
All right, we're going to take our next break here. And when we come back, continue this conversation. The phone lines are open at 244-0077. You're welcome to call in. I don't have Mr. Montserrat today watching the chat. Are you watching the chat, Father? Okay, Father Tattoo's on the chat. So if you do chat, he can respond to you there. My guests are Rabbi David Kaufman and Will Rogers, and we're talking about what's going on in the Middle East. I want to back up a little bit when we come back and talk a little bit about Egypt and what's going on there and how that ties into Syria, or is it two separate events, and continue looking at what happens if Russia gets engaged. From my standpoint, Obama's kind of upset the Russian government and not much support there. We'll see what these guys think when we come back live on The View from a Pew.
Yes, now your favorite programs on Webcast One Live can all be watched and listened to on any Android or Apple device. Your phone, tablet, or iPad. Yes, your favorite shows on Webcast One Live are available live or on podcast wherever you go. Let me introduce to you some of our great shows.
Like right now. Name it.
Did you feel anything?
Yeah.
You did?
Some pain. No pain at all.
I was dealing with some back issues due to the depression I'm in, and right now they're gone.
Well, hi. My name is Mike Ahmed, and I host the show Bridge the Gap Ministry. Our vision is to bridge the gap between cultures, and what we use the Word of God, and because His riches in that Word and the wisdom is what brings us together. So we learn the Word, we speak the Word, and we practice the Word on this show every Thursday. Don't miss it. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
So when you want to watch your favorite Webcast One program, remember, there's an app for that. You know, there's an app for that.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling.
We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
We're the ones in the pew, not pulpit. Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 22 before the top, Salem Radio Network News at 4 o'clock. And then you'll have Pastor Michael Mudloff with True Blue coming up then. Now, you've got an exciting show coming up Thursday.
Yeah, with Waleed Faraz is joining me.
And who's that?
Waleed Faraz is one of the world's experts on the Middle East and Christians in the Middle East particularly. And he's often on Fox News as one of their major commentators on events in the Middle East. So he'll be the guest on my show Thursday afternoon and Understanding the World. Rabbi Kaufman's Understanding the World, one2talk2.com, and here on this network.
Yeah, the number hold on.
The number's
the number
1 2 talk 2.
The number 2.
Yep.
Okay. 12talk2.com. And also you can get it at webcast1live.com and look up Understanding the World, and all the past shows are there. We're talking about what's going on in the Middle East. I want to get to Egypt in just a second, but there was a conversation going on during the commercial break that I think is important. And you brought up a good point. What's the point? I mean, if we send in some cruise missiles, we're just trying to make a point, right? Hey, you shouldn't do that.
I guess that's the only thing that I can say is, the rabbi mentioned that, maybe the only goal out of this could be deterrence.
Right.
Other than that, what are we really prepared to do here?
Well, and
what's the vision of going and taking any kind of action at this time? And I think that's one of the reasons why we've seen political leaders like Congressman Latham say, hold on a second, we need Congress to come in here and give approval on what it is that we're going to go about doing. And I think that, ultimately, is this going to be just a one and done, or are we going to continue on with military operations in the area for a lengthy period of time, which I'm not saying that we shouldn't have these discussions. It's just important enough to determine what it is that we're setting out to do here.
Well, and if I recall, when George Bush would make some decisions about the Middle East and boots on the ground or engaging them, the liberals would yell that he doesn't have the right to do that he's got to go through Congress first.
Yeah, I mean, there's
rhetoric.
There's always all this political rhetoric. That's fine. That either liberals or whoever, we have people making political hay out of stuff, but we want to make sure at the end of the day we are effectively using our military to meet the needs of the people here in our country, but also accomplishing a mission somewhere else where we engage in, whether it be in Syria or against other militaries around the world.
I think, is it Tom Coates on the phone? No, who is it?
This is Tom from Jefferson, Iowa.
Oh, hey, Tom, how are you?
I'm great.
You got a question or comment?
Well, it's a comment. I don't think I heard this mentioned, but the other big advantage of a missile over a plane is there's no pilot. So, because even if the plane has mechanical failure, if that pilot's captured, the other countries like to parade our captured pilots around in front of TV cameras, and it's a huge hit to our morale to see our brave men and women suffering that way. So that's the other advantage of a cruise missile. There's no pilot to be captured.
This is why we've gone, our F-16 unit here in Des Moines is now switching to a drone unit.
Yeah.
I mean, we are moving away from pilots.
Thanks, Tom.
Going into hot areas not just because of this, but this is one of the main things that we're accomplishing by using drones now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the bigger problem here is that the bigger issue for most people is what is the bigger strategic vision? If we're going to go in and we're going to use cruise missiles to take out different targets, are we only doing it to punish Assad? That's I think option one.
Well,
option two is deterring Assad from using the weapons further, and then option three, which and I would say we're probably doing option two. Option three would be not only deterring Assad, but using those strikes to at least keep the Free Syrian Army in the game.
All right.
So that they have a chance of being victorious against Assad, which really should have been our goal long term.
Long term.
Yeah.
All right. Why do we give them notice that we're coming in? Was it this morning that they announced that, or was it yesterday morning? Whenever, my days are all mixed up. But I got up and I turned on the news and Obama ... strike on Syria likely this week.
It has really less to do with Syria than more to do with us and our allies.
Okay, but if I'm Assad, I'm leaving the castle. You're not going to hurt me.
Mac, you got. First of all, Assad is not the target here, because if Assad's the target, we're talking regime change. I mean, the last thing we want to do is hit Assad right now and have complete chaos in Syria. That would require an invasion,
like we have in Egypt.
Well, no, this would be much worse.
Okay.
I mean, because of the amount of weaponry, the amount of dangerous weaponry, and the amount of weapons of mass destruction there, if Assad goes all of a sudden, let's say somebody kills Assad tomorrow in an assassination attempt, that has nothing to do with the United States, we would be sending in troops to secure the chemical weapons.
Okay.
So if we happen to kill him in an airstrike, that changes the whole dynamic.
We don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that.
We just want to send a message.
So
we're the bullies.
You also have to remember, you've got David Cameron recalling the UK Parliament because he's going to get permission to use force against Syria. So the United States is sitting here waiting for the British, is really what we're doing at this point. And then, of course, that looks really good as we're talking about needing permission from Congress. It looks really good when David Cameron, Prime Minister of Britain, seeks approval from his parliament, but the President of the United States does not for the same action.
Let me ask
not to make any comments, but I think that would go over really well in certain parts of our Congress.
Let me ask a question here. And I've known you for a long time, and I've known you for a long time. And so I'll take criticism here if what I'm saying is completely nuts. I respect you both. But it seems to me that the Obama administration is just inept when it comes to foreign policy and the relationships that we have. Now, maybe I read too much social media, but what I read is Obama would love for the Muslim Brotherhood to rise up and be victorious. And he doesn't want Israel to stand, and he doesn't want democracy to shine anywhere else because he's trying to pull democracy down in America. Now, have I just been reading too many right-wing blogs?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say there are a number of people who would like to see the Muslim Brotherhood change Syria to be more like Turkey. With as much problems as we have with Turkey right now, Turkey is vastly better for the United States than Assad's regime in Syria would be. So if there is any opportunity to turn Syria into Turkey, that would be a big benefit for us.
Syria into Turkey.
Okay. And functionally, the way to do that would be, as far as Turkey's concerned, would be the Muslim Brotherhood, because Turkey would jump in support of the Muslim Brotherhood in Syria in a second. That's one of the problems they have with Egypt right now, is that the United States really is supporting the opposition to the Muslim Brotherhood in Turkey at the moment. But
who's the United States supporting in Egypt?
Well, the United States is supporting no one in Egypt at the moment, other than supporting financially the military establishment at the moment.
Which is really a third party, right?
Functionally, they're the old nationalists.
Okay, but aren't there three regimes, basically? There's the official government, there's the people who don't want that government, and then there's the military who keeps some kind of a peace.
The military is really the primary power broker in Egypt. It's kind of like the Ayatollahs in Iran. You have a government that functions as long as the Ayatollahs say it's okay. You have a government in Egypt that functions as long as the military says it's okay. And the military in Egypt is not about to allow people who want them dead to gain power. And
all right. We're up against our break. We'll come back with these two gentlemen. Time flies when you're having fun. And we'll try to unpack a little bit more of this before we get to the top of the hour. Rabbi David Kaufman and Will Rogers are my guests today live on The View from a Pew on KTIA Iowa, powered by webcast1live.com.
Yes, now your favorite programs on Webcast One Live can all be watched and listened to on any Android or Apple device. Your phone, tablet, or iPad. Yes, your favorite shows on Webcast One Live are available live or on podcast wherever you go. Let me introduce to you some of our great shows.
I'm Michael Libby. I'm the host of Insight on Business, the News Hour. We're seen live at 8:45 each Monday morning at Webcast One Live or whenever you want on my blog or on the internet. So what qualifies me to talk about advertising, marketing, and consumer trends? Well, it's my business. Insight Advertising, Marketing, and Communications has helped dozens of companies, small, medium, and large, learn how to use advertising correctly. And we pass that information on to you each and every week.
Hi, I'm Doc. You listen to me every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Doc and Lefty radio podcast program, where we discuss all the relevant topics of the day, including state, local, and national politics. My partner in crime, Lefty, often likes to have a little bit of conservative justice served upon him, so please turn in for the fireworks every week from 6 to 7 p.m. on Tuesdays at webcast1live.com. Thank you.
So when you want to watch your favorite Webcast One program, remember, there's an app for that. You know, there's an app for that.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 10 before the top. Salem Radio Network News, then Pastor Michael Mudloff with True Blue. My guests are Rabbi David Kaufman and Will Rogers today, produced by Father Tattoo. And I'm J. Michael McCoy, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job, and I couldn't do it without you. Before we get into the Egypt thing, you've got something exciting coming up.
Well, Mac, I've got a great event that Tifereth Israel Synagogue is sponsoring coming up this Sunday and Monday. It's our Arts and Heirlooms event. This is something we haven't done in a number of years now, but this is a fundraiser for our synagogue. A number of our members of our synagogue and the Jewish community, and even some of our Christian friends, have made donations to our synagogue. We have antiques, furniture, collectibles, lots of art, household items, games, like foosball tables, just you name it. There's something there for everybody. Lots of jewelry.
Where's it at?
This is going to be at 803 73rd Street. That's 803 73rd Street. That's just south of the freeway on 73rd Street. It's still in Windsor Heights.
Yeah.
Just changes over to West Des Moines right there. It's right by the Wild Bird store. It used to be in the designing. It's the former Designing Women building. Doors open this Sunday and Monday, 10 a.m. and close at 4 in the afternoon. It's a great event. No sales tax because 100% of all the proceeds go to benefit Tifereth Israel Synagogue.
Okay. So it's in that building on the east side, just north of the new Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And if you want more
And what
information, doors open at 10 a.m. Sunday and Monday, this upcoming weekend, Labor Day weekend. And if folks want more information, they can call me at 515-669-1400. 1648, or they can visit our Facebook page. Just look up Tifereth Israel Arts and Heirlooms.
Okay, sounds fun. So what about Egypt? What it seems like Egypt just continues to be in turmoil. How does this play into everything else that's going on?
Well, if you care about Christian communities in the Middle East, like those of us who are Jewish do, we care about the fact that there's a pogrom going on against Christians in Egypt.
What's a who?
A pogrom is essentially an attempt to ethnically cleanse an area, to attack a minority community, to destroy their entire infrastructure, to kill and threaten them so that they leave. And that is what Muslim communities, Muslim Brotherhood-backed groups in Egypt are doing. The military has failed to stop them. They've allowed dozens of churches to be burned across the country, including large ones. They've allowed Christians to be attacked in the streets, Christian homes and businesses to be burned and vandalized. It's bad. In fact, the reason that I have Waleed Fares coming to be on my show on Thursday was to talk about Egypt, because at the time we weren't sure what was going on in Syria, and I wanted him to be on last week, but he was at a protest in Washington, D.C. on behalf of the Egyptian Coptic community there. And the Coptic Pope this afternoon, the Coptic Church is its own church, basically. The Coptic Pope called out Turkish leader Erdogan and said, what in the world are you doing supporting the Muslim Brotherhood while they're destroying Christian churches? Meanwhile, the Christian community around the world doesn't seem to care. I mean, to be perfectly honest, there's almost no response.
I care.
There's almost no response at a governmental level. In the Christian world.
What do you expect out of Obama?
Well, it's not Obama that we're talking about. I mean, talk about church groups that have passed legislation in their organizations to condemn Israel's settlement construction. They haven't mentioned a thing about Christian communities being completely wiped out in Egypt. 10% of the Egyptian population is Christian. That's one of the largest Christian populations in the Middle East. That's millions of people. So it's a big deal. And so we'll talk about that on Thursday on the show. And the other problematic thing that's going on in Syria is the Christians in Syria are allied with Assad against the Muslims, because they're such in fear of the Muslims that they would face the kind of attacks that the Christian community in Egypt is facing, that they've allied themselves with Assad. I remember when Jimmy Carter was here speaking at Drake, and he said that he hoped that his good friend Assad would act better because he's been good for the Christians in Syria. I mean, I remember it appalled me when he said it. It appalls me even more now thinking about it. The Christians in Syria are being defended by Assad against Muslims who would destroy their communities if they had the opportunity.
I go out to lunch with a bunch of guys on Fridays, and we always talk about politics a little bit. And one of the guys, Vince, kind of pre-saw what was happening or was going to happen in Syria. It had already been announced that the gas had been let out, or Monday. This was on Monday, and WW3 keeps getting thrown around that this is going to be Russia and America, and it's going to be Iran and Iraq, and it's going to be Turkey and Syria, and it's going to be Israel, and this is where World War III will be born.
Well, I mean, I don't think that that's the case. I don't think we're even close to that. But I do think we have to decide what our responsibility is toward threatened populations around the world. I mean, I don't think that the United States is going to engage to a level in Syria enough to do that. And so really the question is, what is our purpose of engaging if we're not going to even do it strong enough to encourage regime change in Syria?
But we don't want regime change.
I understand that. So that's what I'm saying.
Is there anybody in America who would say, yes, we do?
Yeah, there are people who would say, yes, we do. I mean, look, there's an author from the National Review, Leon Wieseltier, who basically says it's okay for me to be an observer. It's okay for me to be a bystander and look on at the world and say, I don't know what to do. I can't make a decision. It's not okay for the President of the United States to do that. The President of the United States, in every situation around the world, has an option that is a better of options and a worse of options. And whether we like it or not, whether we've got two horrific options in Syria, one of them is better than the other one. We just have to figure out what that is.
It's not a right or wrong, it's a right and more right.
There are people in Washington who have a lot more information on what's going on there than I do. I mean, I can guess, but I don't have all the information.
All right, make sure that you check out the Rabbi's show live on Thursday. It's called Understanding the World, and it's what time?
2 to 3.
2 to 3. Central time, yes. And it'll also be available for podcast. I'm sure you'll put it up on Facebook, etc. Will, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Mac.
I appreciate it.
Love to be here always.
Thank you
very
for
much.
having us on.
Yep. I want to understand this. I really do, and I'm still confused, and I can't trust any news. I don't even trust Fox. I mean, I trust Fox more than I trust everybody else, but I don't trust. So I come to you guys and I get the straight scoop, and that's what I wanted today. All right, Reich Places will be here Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday, Pastor Luke from one of the Lutheran churches here in town. It'll be Ask the Pastor as we wrap up a week and kick off an incredible Labor Day weekend this weekend, live here on The View from a Pew. Until then, I ask you to do just one thing. Please, tonight or now, just pray.